Well, it's Black Friday. Steam has sales. Let's start first with the RPGs and my choices for them. Regrettably, it doesn't look like Square Enix put a lot of their games on sale this week for some reason or another. That said, I can recommend Final Fantasy VII Remake. Its price is $34.99. Usual price is $70. I don't think this game is worth $70, but I think it's worth $34.99, definitely. Square Enix did a really great job recreating the first parts of Final Fantasy VII, but let us experience Midgar beyond just being a bunch of brown hues. So it's really good. The new story is pretty decent. I love the new voice acting cast. That's something that surprised me. I didn't think I would, but I think they do a really great job. Overall, it's a fun enough game with a decent action time battle system to make things interesting that I'm going to say it's worth checking out. Whether the sequel to this will be any good, that's debatable, especially considering how this kind of ends saying we're not following the original game's script. So we'll just have to see. Even though the Final Fantasy games are not on sale, it does look like we do have some Tales games that are on sale. Let's go from least to best. First, Tales of Zestiria for $4.99. Zestiria is a fun enough game, and it has some decent world building and a really fun world to explore. The combat system is also extremely fun. So why do people oftentimes hate on this game? Two reasons. Number one, the armor upgrade system is obtuse as hell. Second reason, this actually required an anime to fix its story problems. The story problems are huge, starting from Sora being your typical shonen protagonist, but the real problems kind of rise in with Alicia, who starts this game off. You think she's going to be the protag, Sora may be the hero, but she's going to be the protag, only for about 20% through for her to just drop out of sight out of nowhere for no reason whatsoever, and for them to bring in a new character all of a sudden, all because someone higher up in the developer totem pole had a crush on a Japanese voice actor and wanted to use her more. The game's still worth $4.99, but just be warned, if you're into the Tales series for the great character developments and their way they interact off each other, you're not going to find it in this one, unfortunately. That said, Tales of Berseria, the prequel to Tales of Zestiria, manages to fix a lot of the problems. The armor system's back to normal, the storyline is on track, and overall pretty good, following a group of anti-heroes, and I would even say anti-villains, as they go forward and try to get revenge on the shepherd Artorias, who ruined the protagonist Velvet Crow's life and turned her into a demon. In the process, Velvet will create the power that Sora uses in Tales of Zestiria to do his deeds. So it's, like I said, it's a great prequel, great follow-up. Velvet's a much deeper character, while Sora is too much good, kind nature, optimist. Velvet's, like I said, she can sometimes be the villain and very mean-spirited, and it's kind of refreshing to play that in a JRPG protagonist. Then we get Tales of Symphonia, another one for $4.99. Going old school with the combat, it is the first 3D Tales game, so there are going to be a few times where the combat feels a bit wonky. Still, the characters are memorable. The story does a really great job of borrowing elements from both Final Fantasy X and V to create its own narrative. The combat is still fun, despite its problems, and I think the Steam version is the best if you care about the resolution you play. The resolution is going to be locked at 40 fields per second, but it can go up to 4K, and it's the only one that I know that can do that. Moving on to the next Tales game, we got Tales of Vesperia for $9.99. This is my favorite Tales game. The character Yuri Lowell is a super fun character. The combat system, probably one of the best that's ever been in a Tales game. The only bad thing I can say is it falls off a bit in the last third. It feels a bit tacked on. But for most of the game, you're going to have a good time. And even that last third's not that bad. It just falls into more generic JRPG tropes that the first part of the game doesn't do. Then we have Mega Man Battle Network Collection for $39.59 for all 4 games. Basically, you get a bunch of really old school Game Boy Advance RPGs. The stories in these are pretty good. Granted, it's aimed at kids. And I'm glad to really have this collection back, warts and all. Basically, you'll be solving problems in the real world as Lan Hikari and then jacking in Mega Man into computers to help battle viruses. And when you're playing as Mega Man, you'll be battling viruses and collecting battle chips to power yourself up. It's really fun, decent storytelling. Overall, I do recommend getting this collection. Now that we've gone through the best, let's get to the least. Hyperdimensional Neptunia Rebirth series are $5.24 each. And I need to let you know, Neptunia games aren't going to be really great JRPGs. That said, I'll admit these games made me laugh a lot. As I said, the Neptunia games are worth playing. They're just not worth spending more than $10. The Rebirth series has some really great satire. Basically, if you're into the game industry, if you're into anime, if you understand what goes on in the Japanese anime and video game industry, you'll know what the series is referencing and constantly poking fun of. If I had to recommend only one game from the Rebirth series, it's the third one. It goes back and it kind of pokes fun of Nintendo back in the 90s. It's clashed with Sega, Microsoft and PlayStation entering the video game space and the mistakes they made, and it parodies them all really good. I do recommend at least checking out that third game. Another game that almost made it's actually a decent RPG and is worth checking out is Mega Dimensional Neptunia Mark II. This is actually the best game in the mainline Neptunia series, and it's almost there, but Ideas Factory's low budget keeps it from being anything truly great. If you know the story of the Sega Dreamcast and how it basically got the short end of the stick and then kind of imagine it as being turned into a person and what that person would be like, you can understand the game's main story and what Neptunia is dealing with. And again, the story is funny, there's a lot of great satire, and the game does stick it to bigger targets than they did in the past. We're including Capcom, Bandai Namco, Square Enix, and Konami all get their day here and get some really funny satire thrown towards their way. And the battle system's pretty good too. I haven't played the remake of this one, which is something I do want to do sometime next year. Finally, we get Cyberdimension Neptunia. This one almost actually got a recommendation on the gameplay alone. While it's not perfect and there were some bugs, most of the bugs actually improved my gameplay experience and kind of made it more fun. The combat was good, and we got some original areas that look pretty decent and a decent graphics upgrade. The story is actually fun and revolves around what people do in an MMO and why they like them, with the villains being actual problems in MMO games, including cheaters, game glitches, and rival studios sometimes trying to sabotage each other. So it was actually kind of a fun game, and I'd recommend it way over most of the Sword Art Online games I've played so far. Anyways, this is my recommendation. Please let me know if you have any recommendations for me to try. You guys have a wonderful day. Bye.
This is where he lives. Doesn't seem like there's anyone around. I wonder if there's any other way in.